Hey everyone, welcome to Toons. I'm Luke, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing a Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. Okay, so previously I made a video breaking down the trailer for this film. In it I discussed what I thought was going to happen. Well, I'm afraid to say I got a lot of that stuff wrong, but we did get a few things right. But I won't actually be delving into that too much, as this is actually going to be a strictly non-spoilery review. So if you've come to this video to decide whether or not to buy the film, this review should hopefully help you out on that front. And don't worry, I won't ruin any of the twists and turns in the film. Right, so a quick summary of the film, which is going to be a bit difficult because a lot of big things happen fairly early on. So this film actually takes place in Crystal Cove. That's one of the things I did get wrong. I thought it might have been set in a different town. But no, it's set in the gang's hometown of Crystal Cove, the most hauntedest place on Earth. During their annual Halloween celebrations, the parade is interrupted by the Scarecrow and his fleet of drones when he threatens to plunge Crystal Cove under a cloud of his fear toxin. Now, as I suspected, this whole situation gets wrapped up fairly quickly. Of course, they did put the unmasking in the trailer, as the film actually picks up with the gang setting the trap for the Scarecrow as they are tipped off to his being there. So wrapping up a case fairly early on Halloween night, the gang decide to go and enjoy Halloween for the first time in a while. Whether that involves trick-or-treating or finding the perfect Halloween costume, it is of course nice to see a connection to the Batman universe having Scarecrow in this film, and he does play a fairly important role in this film. But as the night goes on, they start to see pumpkins are coming to life and start terrorising the town. And the gang have to set about solving another mystery and seeing if there are any connections to the events that have already unfolded. And one of the big selling points of this film is that it featured the voices of Elvira and Bill Nye, the science guy, who I will delve into a little bit more. And that's pretty much all I can say about the plot of this film without delving into the spoiler territory. So I'm just going to jump over to my initial thoughts. I really enjoyed this film. This is actually the first film in the direct-to-video line of Scooby-Doo movies to be released this year. In fact, usually we normally get 2 films a year, but this year, most likely due to the release of Scoob, which was meant to be theatrical, they decided to only release 1 direct-to-video film this year, and it's finally out. It's the first one we've had since Return to Zombie Island, which was over a year ago now. And it really is nice to see a feature-length adventure on the small screen again. And I'd say it's probably one of the best ones we've had in a while. I personally was a little disappointed by Return to Zombie Island and its predecessor Curse of the 13th Ghost. The films themselves were fine, but I did feel like those films were slightly betraying the legacy of the original films or series they were adapting. Well, that's not so much the case here. It's an original film. It's not following on from any previous Scooby-Doo iteration. I will say it is in continuity with the last 2 films. We do see a through line with the sheriff's relationship with the gang. Of course, in Curse of the 13th Ghost, the sheriff made them stop mystery solving, and at the end of Return to Zombie Island, he agreed to let them do what they love doing. And there are mentions of that in this film, so it is technically in continuity with that, but it doesn't have the things that I felt were holding those films back. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. There were some really fun twists and turns that I did not see coming. I thought the film looked great, it was very well animated, everyone sounded great in the film. It was a little childish at points, but I am definitely above the target audience for this film, so that's not exactly a bad thing. It was never too childish in a way that could stop me enjoying the film. I could just very clearly get the sense that I was not this target demographic, and I don't expect myself to be, so I can't really complain there. But that being said, even though at times it was childish, they weren't afraid to go deep and tell a really compelling story, I'd argue. And this film had some fun musical sequences that I really enjoyed. I like the opening credits for the film. Normally they switch to some sort of graphic motion design type opening sequence, but this film was fully animated, it was part of the film, and it did something slightly different to introduce the characters and their voice actors to everyone, which I thought was a very fun and cool way to do that. And of course later on, it's not really a spoiler to say that during this film there is a Scooby-Doo chase sequence with a musical number, and it felt very retro. It was really fun to watch, and I think it worked really well within the film. I feel like this film did have a bit of everything. There was a really compelling mystery in the film, which is something that I wasn't actually expecting from the trailer, because they do unmask the Scarecrow fairly early on, but no, there is something there later on. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of comedy, the characters' interactions are great, and there's a lot of heart. Overall, I think it's exactly what you want from a Scooby-Doo film. Okay, so the Mystery Machine, I think what some things people were wondering is, in Scooby-Doo Curse of the 13th Ghost, Fred does sell the Mystery Machine, and throughout that film and throughout Return to Zombie Island, he is pining for it to return. At the end of Return to Zombie Island, they do state that they are going to do whatever they can to get the Mystery Machine back. And so I think many people were hoping to see what exactly that would entail. I will say, when this film starts, they already have the Mystery Machine. I think it's just taken as a given that they were able to buy it back off whoever they bought it from. I mean, it is slightly unfortunate that they didn't sort of carry on that thread, considering this film is a direct continuation of Return to Zombie Island. But I do think it's just something that the film itself didn't have time to deal with it, and it wasn't really overly necessary to the story. Especially because it's not long into the film that the Mystery Machine is taken out of commission. That is, of course, a setup to introduce the new version of the Mystery Machine, given to the gang by Bill Nye. This isn't really a spoiler, it was featured fairly heavily in the trailer, and it's this super cool futuristic mystery machine that's like all white. It looks like an Apple product almost. It self-drives, it has a hologram to Bill Nye that they can talk to, has lots of cool gadgets which do come into great use in the film. And I really enjoyed seeing it. You've got to love the classic Mystery Machine paint job though. I will say this film, you need to stick around for the credits, because there are some scenes during the credits that do show what's happening with the Mystery Machine, setting up maybe future films possibly. And that's really fun, and it's all to do with the whole Bill Nye storyline. And speaking of Bill Nye, let's talk about him. I did mention in my trailer breakdown that they have previously met him in Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and in an episode that actually came out this year. And so I speculated that it is a slightly different character design, mainly because the show and the films have two different design styles. So I wasn't sure whether they'd acknowledge that they already knew him. Well, in this film, they do already know him. They don't have any direct references to the Guess Who episode, but I think we can take it that it is canon in this world, as they already know him when the film starts. I think Bill Nye in this film is very great. He's not actually there in Crystal Cove with the gang, but his presence is ever felt throughout the film. And there is a great little subplot of him being at home answering the door to trick-or-treaters. The other guest star in this film is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark herself. Elvira did, of course, appear in the last film, Return to Zombie Island, where she was technically involved in the scheme by the villain to get Scooby and the gang back on Moonscar Island. Particularly with this film being a continuation of that film, I would have expected at least a little reference to it, saying that the gang had technically already come into contact with her somehow. But we didn't actually have any of that. She just was in this film as a main character. There wasn't really any question about it. She seemed to know of them, but I don't feel like she knew them before this film takes place. That being said, disregards to continuity, she does have a brilliant role in this film. In fact, she actually bookmarks this film in a host style, very much in a similar way to how she would present her own series. I think it's always fun to have her narrate a Scooby film like that, as it just adds that extra sense of spookiness to the film, which would fit Scooby-Doo anyway, but particularly in a Halloween film, I think it's very welcome. I enjoyed everything going on with her and her storyline with Daphne. It's really fun to watch. And speaking of Daphne, I think she really has a lot to do in this film. Grey Griffin really shines in the role here. She has a few fun scenes with Scooby and Shaggy, as well as having an entire plotline with Elvira, which is just absolutely hilarious to watch throughout the film. Her personality in this film is slightly different to maybe what we saw in the last few films. It's definitely very bubbly and bright. It somewhat reminds me of like how she might have been in certain episodes of Be Cool Scooby-Doo, but not to quite the zany level of that character. But she's definitely a very upbeat version of the character. And I can't really say too much about Scarecrow, because I do feel like his role in the film does very much delve into the mystery as a whole, and I don't want to reveal anything to do with that. I will say the mystery itself was a really challenging mystery. The film does give you enough clues that you are able to figure out who is behind everything going on, but you aren't necessarily able to figure out why. And I feel like some of the reveals in this film, although seemingly coming out of nowhere, I think were really fun to watch. And I think this film does set up a potential sequel. I think there's more to see with some of the stuff that was revealed in this film. I'm not entirely sure when that's going to happen. We don't actually know what the next Scooby film is. They don't really release that information. But we do know that there is a Scooby-Doo and King Arthur film that's been in the works for the last few years. So it's possible that that's the next film. I think it's called Scooby-Doo at King Arthur's Court. I don't really have much more to say about the film other than that I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a return to form for these direct-to-video films. I think when they've not got to worry about trying to respect the legacy of an old show or an old film, I think they're able to tell just a really fun story. So the film is out. It is out on DVD here in the UK. It came out on Monday. It's out in the US yesterday. But exclusive to Walmart, and it won't be getting a wide release in the US until next month. It is only available on DVD. They've not released it on Blu-ray, which is a shame. They've not been releasing these Scooby films on Blu-ray for a while. I presume that's most likely due to the demand not being there. Perhaps the previous films that were released on Blu-ray just didn't sell as well as the DVDs. But if you do want to watch this film in HD, it is available on digital in that format. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel and lets this video be seen by more people. If you want to see some more reviews, I recently just reviewed another Warner home video film, Superman Man of Tomorrow, a few days ago, and I will be reviewing Phineas and Ferb Candace Against the Universe next week. That recently came out on Disney Plus, and I've got some things to say about it. If you're looking for more Scooby-Doo content, I have an entire series called The Myth Behind the Monsters that's dedicated to looking at the myths behind the different monsters that have appeared in episodes of Scooby-Doo. I'm working my way through it chronologically, so we're still on Scooby-Doo Where Are You Villains? I've recently just done Charlie the Haunted Robot, and coming up next is The Puppet Master. So if you like Scooby-Doo, go check that out. Are any of you excited to watch this film, or have you already watched this film? Let me know what you think down below. I'd love to talk to someone about it. Oh, and if anyone is interested in me doing a spoiler deep dive into this film, do let me know, because I've actually got some things I feel like we could talk about and discuss with this film, because some of the revelations are just like crazy. Not what I'd expect from just the average Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movie. So I might milk some more videos out of this film. There's lots of fun Easter eggs to look out for as well. So I might do an Easter egg video. They might be the same video. I'm not entirely sure yet. So if you want to see any of those, just let me know down below and I will get on it. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Cheers. Thanks for watching Tube of Tunes. If you want more from the channel, hit subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on, follow us on our socials. Hope you liked it. Cheers.